you can no longer survive on low-effort content. The new algorithm laws now prioritize viewer satisfaction over raw views. If your quality is low, your reach can drop by 25% almost instantly. To dominate this intense competition, you must master high production value and hooks that grab attention in seconds. Here's your 2026 survival guide.
Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today we are going to dismantle the invisible mechanics that decide exactly which videos appear on your screen. If you've ever found yourself wondering how YouTube actually picks recommended videos, why some absolutely take off like a rocket while others just completely flatline, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to look straight under the hood of the 2026 recommendation systems. But before we break down the system itself, we really need to consider the sheer scale we're dealing with here. YouTube generates over 1 billion hours of watch time every single day. 1 billion. And here's the real kicker, a staggering 70% of that watch time is driven entirely by the platform's recommendations. The system is quite literally the ultimate tastemaker, and understanding how it thinks is absolutely crucial for your sustainable growth. So, here is our roadmap for pulling back the curtain today. 1. Not just one algorithm. 2. Satisfaction over watch time. 3. Decoding the home feed. 4. The suggested videos engine. 5. Shorts versus long-form decoupled. And finally, 6. Strategies for sustainable growth.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, not just one algorithm, shattering the biggest creator myth.
We're going to dive in by debunking a massive misconception right out of the gate. There's no single monolithic YouTube algorithm. I know, it sounds crazy, but instead of one giant gatekeeper, the platform uses independent recommendation engines for each of these distinct surfaces. Because of this setup, a piece of content that totally triumphs in one area might completely flop in another. For example, a short might rack up millions of views in the vertical feed but drive literally zero traffic to your long-form videos. Treating these as one single, unified system is exactly why so many people get incredibly frustrated when they try to optimize their content.
Moving right along to Section 2, Satisfaction over Watch Time, the 2026 Paradigm Shift.
We really need to talk about a fundamental shift in what the platform actually values now, because the rules of the game have officially changed. This highlights the absolute death of the padded content strategy. You know the one, stretching a simple 2-minute idea into a bloated 10-minute video? Yeah, that just doesn't work anymore. The system now explicitly favors videos that leave viewers genuinely satisfied over content that just traps their attention for as long as possible. Raw watch time has essentially been dethroned by a much more complex evaluation of viewer fulfillment.
Enter the viewer satisfaction score. This is the new holy grail. So the crucial takeaway here is that a shorter, punchier video that actually delivers on its promise and earns a high viewer satisfaction score will aggressively outrank a longer, rambling video every single time. If viewers hit like, if they share it with a friend, or if they actually come back to your channel the next day, you are feeding the system exactly what it's hungry for. Happy returning users.
All right, Section 3, Decoding the Home Feed, the ultimate matchmaker. Let's look specifically at the browse or home feed. For most channels, this is your biggest source of traffic, and it essentially acts as a highly personalized matchmaker trying to predict a viewer's exact mood at any given moment. Following a major overhaul in February 2026, this engine no longer groups content by broad, generic topics like tech or gaming. Actually, scratch that, it's way more advanced now. The AI builds deep micro-niche clusters based on individual viewing patterns. Say someone has a history of watching intense 15-minute educational documentaries. The AI might actually recommend your 15-minute cooking tutorial to them, even if they've never baked a cake in their life. Why? Because they perfectly match the psychological pattern of a deep dive learner. Now, because this matchmaking is just so precise, when a creator's home feed traffic suddenly dies, this is literally the very first question they ask. And hey, it's human nature, right? We all assume the system is manually punishing us for something. But this brilliantly illustrates the reality of the situation. Shadow banning is a total myth. When views drop, it's almost always due to changing viewer behaviors, seasonal fluctuations, or just a disconnect in that audience matching we talked about. Maybe your click-through rate, your CTR, declined because your thumbnail got fatigued, or your retention dropped because your video structure became a bit too predictable. The system isn't out to get you, it's just reacting to the data.
That brings us to Section 4, the Suggested Videos Engine.
Extending the session. So while the home feed starts the viewing journey, the Suggested Videos Engine, that sidebar on your screen, exists solely to keep that journey going. Its entire job is to predict what you want to watch next. This introduces one of the most vital metrics for this specific engine, session contribution. If your content consistently causes viewers to end their session and completely leave the platform, this engine will severely restrict your distribution. Conversely, if watching your content leads someone to watch 3 more videos, even if they aren't yours, you get rewarded for extending that session. It's a real win-win for the platform.
Next up, Section 5, Shorts versus Long-Form Decoupled. 2 separate worlds.
We definitely need to address a massive late 2025 update regarding the vertical shorts feed, which, by the way, is now driving a staggering 200 billion daily views. The algorithms have now been entirely decoupled. As you can see, the Shorts engine prioritizes the replay rate and the swipe away rate in those crucial first 3 seconds. Long-form, however, is all about average view duration and satisfaction over a much longer period. Because these have been officially separated, your Shorts performance no longer impacts your long-form reach. You can experiment freely in the vertical format without that looming fear that a flop is going to drag down your primary channel's authority.
Finally, Section 6, Strategies for Sustainable Growth, the Creator Playbook. So what does this all mean? How do we take all these invisible mechanics, algorithms, and data points and actually turn them into actionable steps for your content? Well, first off, you have to respect the absolute power of retention. Our 2026 data shows that channels sitting in the top quartile for audience retention see a massive 3.5 times higher subscriber growth momentum. Retaining attention isn't just a nice-to-have anymore, it is the core engine of audience growth.
But getting that retention requires overcoming a pretty massive hurdle. You have to respect the 1-minute wall. Hard statistics prove that 55% of the average audience will leave before the 60-second mark if you do not hook them properly. Just let that sink in for a second. More than half the battle is literally won or lost in the very first minute. By visualizing this timeline of disengagement, you can see exactly where the leaks in your bucket are. Viewers make a hard judgment in the first 8 seconds. If you state your clear value proposition in the first 15 seconds, the data shows you can actually get an 18% lift in retention by that 60-second mark. Oh, and don't forget the mid-video slump, that 15% secondary exodus. This is exactly when you need to introduce pattern interrupt, pacing changes, and visual shifts to maintain that precious viewer satisfaction score we talked about earlier.
So, follow these concrete steps to work dynamically with the matchmaking system. First, hook 'em fast. Second, ensure your thumbnail isn't clickbait. Seriously, if the title promises one thing and the content delivers another, your satisfaction score will absolutely plummet. Third, lean heavily into human authenticity. Heavily automated, monotonous AI slop sees a 70% lower retention rate in 2026. Be real, and if you do use AI, just disclose it properly. And finally, use those end screens strategically to drive that session contribution way up.
As you plan your next project, I want you to really ask yourself this question. Are you building content just to trap attention, or are you designing experiences that leave viewers genuinely satisfied? The era of gaming the system with empty, padded content is officially over. Because in 2026, genuine satisfaction is literally the only metric the black box truly cares about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and create something that leaves them genuinely satisfied.